Hello, Scorpio, and welcome to your reading. This is Bright Soul Collective Tarot. My name is Laura, and these will be your intuitive insights for mid-March into the beginning of April 2023. This reading will be for Scorpio, Sun, Moon, and Rising. So by all means, if you know your three major placements, you can listen to any and all of the readings that apply, as each one may resonate for you differently. And as always, before we get started, do keep in mind these readings are general in nature. They're meant to apply to a more broad collective of individuals, and that means that not every detail that come through will necessarily be for you. Definitely take anything and everything that does resonate, however that might connect to your personal circumstances, and definitely use your discretion in determining what you think applies and what might be most helpful to you, and you can simply leave the rest. So welcome, Scorpio. I hope you're all doing well. Happy March. Spring is just around the corner, so this is always an exciting time of year when we start moving out of that kind of stagnation and rest and the darkness of winter and into the sunlight and starting to see things bloom and take shape. So it's a great time. I'm super excited to be here with you and to take a look at what we've got in store. I've got your oracle card here. We will pull some tarot. I will share a couple of channeled messages that I took time to connect with before beginning your reading, and we will finish off with a couple of oracle messages just for an additional detail and clarity, see if there's any more insight available for you. And right before we jump into your cards, I will take a moment to share the channeled energetic impression. So when I was preparing for your reading and connecting with your energy, this is just kind of what I was picking up on. The first thing that came up was like food. A focus on food, or maybe even a lack of focus on food. And the impression that I get is it's kind of like forgetting to eat, right? Or like, it's like you get up and you start working or you start doing what needs to be done, and then before you know it, it's like 2 or 3 in the afternoon and you have like not really eaten anything. So especially if you're busy and you find yourself getting absorbed in the day-to-day kind of tasks, you may be forgetting to eat. And this is just a reminder to prioritize your nutrition. You need that nourishment, and that is going to energize you and help you kind of like have the energetic resources that you need to get all of that work done. And also, especially if you are busy, eating is one of the like most natural ways that we kind of ground ourselves, right? And so that we kind of like we're more present in our bodies. So it's also a really great opportunity to take some time for yourself, right? To be conscious, taking time to check in with yourself and your energy, and just allowing yourself to enjoy food gets you into your body, gets you grounded, especially if you've got a lot of things on the go or competing priorities. The next thing that came through was orphaned. Like one of the cards popped out, and normally I don't pay attention to them, but it struck me, so I just thought I would mention it. So I don't know, you may connect to that in some way. You may feel orphaned, like you may feel kind of, isolated or without support or resources, especially like in a family capacity. You could have lost one or both parents, or you may kind of like be on the outs, like maybe you're not talking, or maybe the relationship isn't good and it's leaving you feeling as though you're without that kind of parental guidance that you need. So take that as you will, but that was something that was highlighted. And then the next thing that came through, it made me feel really good for you guys. And it was a sense of just feeling like competent, like knowing your ability to do the work and to see the results, right? So it's kind of like trusting your ability to manifest, right? And say like, when I know something needs to be done, I know what steps to take, I take them, and then I get to see the results of my work, in terms of seeing my goal accomplished or moving closer toward that. So there's a quiet confidence in your ability to make things happen for yourself, which is really awesome. And then I also got the sense of like being a fighter, like, having a fighting spirit, having like a warrior spirit, right? And it's kind of like, that's one of the things that helps you to believe in your competence and to have that confidence, is because, like maybe you've been through some stuff and maybe you've seen some stuff, and it's like you've gone through dark periods and you've had to fight for what you've got, and you see that you're capable of doing that. And so it's like embracing that warrior spirit and like knowing your strength and being willing to use that strength to get yourself ahead and to see your goals come true, your dreams come true. And then the other thing that I need to say is that if you have had a sense that like things are working out or things will work out, especially even if you're not in the place that you want to be, right? So it's like, even if you don't have tangible evidence as to like how things will work out or when they will work out or that they are working out, if you have a sense that everything is going to be okay in the end and like you're heading where you need to go, I would just say like this is validation that you're right. So even if it's not taking shape in your physical environment, or even if it is slow to take shape and you don't have like a fully formed plan, if you have the sense that things are working out or that they will, you are right. And then there's also kind of a sense of like a certain amount of like sentimentality, maybe reflecting on childhood memories, looking back on childhood experiences fondly, maybe trying to recreate or hold on to those memories or honor them in some way. That was something that came up. So we're going to get into your card for this month. So your theme is showing up as observer. And there was one other sign that had this card. Taurus did as well. So you may have a connection to a Taurus in this capacity. You could have Taurus energy in your chart. Yeah, but the observer card, there's a real highlight on perspective. And so this explains to us that, we are all unique individuals. We have our own personal experience and we see life and we understand things through the lens of our own personal experience, right? So we kind of put our lens over everything that happens, and that's kind of how we understand and how we function and how we move through the world. And sometimes what happens is we can kind of get caught up in our own personal perceptions and experience. And sometimes it causes us to overlook like the bigger picture view, or to overlook other people's experiences or how things may be. So sometimes if we get too caught up in like what we're doing and what we've experienced, we're not necessarily open to or able to benefit from the vast, number of perspectives that are available to us. And in doing so, we might actually be missing out on key information or perspective that could be really valuable to us, either in terms of like life lessons or making decisions, or just kind of having a deeper level of understanding of like ourselves or the world around us. And so this is saying that like it's really beneficial for us, especially if we're pretty wrapped up in something. Like it could be a goal that you're focused on. It could be a project that you've got on the go, whatever's taking up the majority of your your attention and your focus right now. You might be like a little too close to it, right? And especially if you're feeling like you're looking for a little bit more clarity or insight, or you're trying to figure out your next steps, this is a really, really awesome time to just kind of like take a step back, because you will benefit immensely from kind of removing yourself and removing your perspective from the equation and trying to find a more neutral kind of vantage point to survey the landscape. And so this is asking us to look at, observe ourselves and how we're showing up and what we're doing, observe others, observe the landscape and the environment that's kind of encapsulating our experiences, and just seeing like, if there's anything there that we maybe didn't realize, or if there's anything that we hadn't been, picking up on. And instead of looking at like our role and our experience in that equation, it's kind of like looking at all of the moving parts and how everything is interacting and moving together. Because it might, like, especially in terms of moving forward, it might not just be up to you, or it might not be something that is solely in your control to handle, right? It could be like maybe looking at the bigger picture, you'll see there's an opportunity to either collaborate or for someone else to step up, or, it'll give you a better understanding of all of the energies at play and how you can make an empowered decision to use those energies in a way, or try and influence them in a way that they're going to work together more harmoniously. Because sometimes what happens is, like, when we're caught up in something, we end up looking at it through a microscope, and then we end up putting an undue amount of pressure or stress on ourselves, because it's kind of like, well, this is what's going on and this is what I think about it. And then we end up kind of like, we can shoot ourselves in the foot because we think that it's up to us, because we're seeing it from, such a close perspective, that we don't necessarily have all the information that we need to make a beneficial decision. And this is welcoming in new perspectives, having conversations with people, being open to other people's take, other people's observations, getting some insight and advice, because sometimes just having a conversation with someone and hearing another perspective can spark a huge realization for you that otherwise on your own you might not have come to understand, right? So those other perspectives are so helpful. And I don't get the impression that you're someone that is closed off to other points of view. It just may be that you're not, maybe they're not abundant right now. Like maybe you've just been kind of isolated in your own space, and it's a matter of consciously saying I need to seek out some additional perspective, or, how would I approach this if I didn't know what was going on, right? If I can take myself out of the situation and see what's going on as a whole, what would I think about it? What would my impression be? How would I handle it, right? Because sometimes when we're approaching it and it's too personal to us, then that personal kind of bias can influence our decisions. And meanwhile, there might be a way forward that's going to be a lot more helpful or beneficial that we wouldn't necessarily figure out on our own. So this is a really good time. This is also a time to consider other points of view, like in relationships. Consider, the other person's side of things, what they might be feeling and experiencing, being open to receive and to be understanding, because there's opportunity. When we can share and consider perspectives, that gives us a better opportunity to collaborate, to come to a compromise, to find, a beneficial way forward for everyone. So it's this could be a really good time to just kind of bring everything into balance. Because yeah, whatever you've got going on, it might just be, you might just be too close to it, right? And this also pertains to work and projects and stuff like that, particularly if you're trying to figure out long term what your next steps might be. You might be so wrapped up in what you're doing right now that it's making you feel afraid that you don't have a plan for the future, right? So it's making you kind of disconnected from the big picture goal. And sometimes taking a step back and seeing yes, I'm focused currently on this thing, and how is that going to play into the grander scheme of things, or my life path as a whole. And that's when it's also really good to connect with other people and get their perspective on you and what you're doing. And, obviously to use your discretion in terms of what information, what sources you use, who you trust, right? And to use your discretion in applying any kind of perspective or advice that you may be given, because at the end of the day, it's up to you to do so. But yeah, it's kind of sometimes when we're in our feelings and we're too close to something, things get jumbled and we're responding to things out of past experiences and conditioning, and we're not actually seeing what's going on for what it is, right? Sometimes someone will say something to us and it may trigger a response based on an experience that we've had, so we don't actually hear what the person says. And so sometimes if we can just kind of take ourselves out of it and see, what's really going on, what is this person saying, what does this mean? It allows you to trust yourself and the other person in the connection, and to kind of come at any potential challenges from a place of curiosity and looking to see what's going on, and what are we being shown, and how can we work with this energy, and you'll see that things will kind of start to improve, right? Because sometimes it's just the belief that there is a problem that creates more of an issue, right? Because it kind of becomes overwhelming or daunting. Whereas in reality, in the big picture, it's just a small piece of the puzzle. And if we can kind of tackle it in small bites, it makes it a lot more manageable. So yeah, this is very interesting. Also, there's a fox showing up here. I felt drawn to bring your attention to that. Foxes may have significance to you. Maybe even like as a spirit animal or totem. I don't know offhand. I think like foxes are about curiosity and maybe authenticity. I don't really know, like authentic expression, but it would be worth, if you're curious, Googling like spiritual meaning or significance of foxes. Keep an eye out for foxes this month. This is funny. So your first card is coming out as the Six of Cups, and that's what I was saying about like having that sentimentality, looking back fondly on your childhood experiences and memories and relationships. All right. I just had a whole pile of cards turn over, so we're going to just keep shuffling here. Get you another card. Your second card is showing up as the Five of Wands. And your third card is showing up as the Eight of Pentacles. And at the bottom of the deck, we have the Empress. Cool. I really like this. This is also interesting because you've got like a blend of different energies, right? So we've got Cups, which is all about, you know, love, emotions, subconscious, intuition, you know, your happiness and your joy. And then we've got Wands, which is about like inspiration, passion, creativity. And then Pentacles, which is more about the world of form. So the practical side of life, like our body, our health, our money and career, our material belongings, stability, abundance, that kind of stuff. So I do see the opportunity for you to be uniting all of these different kinds of energies and these different qualities and kind of trying to harness them and bring them into balance in a way that you're going to feel confident about. So it's kind of like these are all strengths that are available to you, and it's like getting a hold of them and using them in harmony with each other, even if they're opposing energies, right? Because it's like kind of bringing those energies into balance, and it can help kind of speed along your manifestation. So with the Empress here at the bottom of the deck, the Empress is kind of like that maternal Mother Earth, that nurturing kind of role. Like Mother Earth is a home for us, and it's, you know, nurtures and it supports our life, and it's also like the relationship between the earth and the moon, and, you know, the cycles that we go through, and specifically, obviously, we see like there's the connection to pregnancy. So this could be related to a pregnancy, it could be related to a child giving birth, it could also be related to like the birthing of an idea, a project, a manifestation, whatever you're working on. So it's kind of like there is this intuitive connection to whatever this thing is, whether it's a child, you know, a goal, something that you actually create, an idea or a way of being that is being like, it's like whatever you're birthing out into the world, basically. And that's what kind of the energy, and this is in a practical sense. So it's taking something like intuitively that might not be in the world currently, like it's like an idea, something an inception of an idea, and then the incubation of that idea, and then the birthing of that out into the world. So it's taking action in some kind of tangible way where you're creating something in your physical reality. That is the underlying energy that's informing this. So it could be deep past, recent past, or something you're currently kind of being influenced by. And if so, if it is a child, or it has, you know, relation to your childhood, that could be what's informing the Six of Cups. The Six of Cups is showing up as what you need to know right now. And so that's kind of like a strength for you. So this would be your childhood experiences, childhood relationships, you know, the love, the happiness, the joy, and the fulfillment that you had in your childhood. It can be, you know, the way that we were raised, or the relationships that we have, and how those impacted us on an emotional level, you know, how they've shaped us into the person that we are now. And it can also be a relation to like inner child too. So reconnecting with your inner child, right? You know, connecting with joy and happiness, making room and time for play, spontaneity, and embracing that kind of childhood wonder and curiosity, right? Because it's like that period of time where we're like untainted by the world. We're just showing up authentically and experiencing things for the first time. That's going to be beneficial to you, right? Like seeing the world through the eyes of a child with that kind of childlike wonder and innocence might also be part of what helps you get a different perspective, right? Especially because as we grow older and we have experiences and we inevitably kind of apply the past to our present and future situations, we can end up unconsciously limiting ourselves because we're not necessarily open to seeing how things will unfold and experiencing them for the first time. We kind of like lock ourselves into cycles based on what we already know. And so even if we're looking to connect with something new, sometimes we inadvertently end up creating the same thing we've experienced in the past, just because we're not conscious of the fact that that's, how we're guiding or limiting ourselves. This can also have to do with childhood relationships. So we see like a young child and the puppy, and then like over the years, the love and the relationship that they share. And now here they are, older and wiser, having more experience, having, those years of experiences shared and love shared that bonds them together. So yeah, there is a certain amount of fondness and sentimentality. There might be a lot of looking back on the past and reflecting on memories. This can be a positive or negative energy. Sometimes we end up getting into that sentimental energy, and sometimes what can happen is we end up longing to go back or to like recreate that energy. And it's remembering that absolutely, like looking back on the past, especially those fond memories, is a really beautiful thing to do. And emotionally, it can be really healing also, right? And it can give us a connection to love and a reminder of what's important to us. And we can decide like what experiences were most meaningful to us. How do we want to allow ourselves to be changed by those experiences? And how are we going to cultivate and infuse that love and that kind of childhood joy into what we're doing right now? But it can also be a disruptive energy if we are too focused on the past, right? Because, in all reality, we can't go back to the past, and it wouldn't serve us to do so, right? Because we're a different version of ourselves now than we were then. And we've had experiences and we've been changed, and we're meant to benefit from that wisdom and those life lessons so that we have more awareness, right? We've matured and we have more information available to us as we're making our decisions and moving through life. So it's like, you don't want to give up what you've got to go back, right? As much as it might be tempting to like, I wish I could just go back and live a day in the life when things were the way they were back then. And it's recognizing like, I'm sure, yeah, there is some value in that, and especially the perspective, but that you can have as a result of like who you are and where you are now and where you are back then. So there is an opportunity for even reframing past experiences and taking something empowering from that. But we don't want to be looking backward, right? We want to look back fondly. We want to be inspired to connect with that love and joy and fulfillment, and to figure out how we want those beautiful memories to fuel the love that is being infused into the decisions we're making now, so that we can, we're not going to try and recreate the past or be stuck in the past, but we're going to allow the beautiful things that we've experienced to inform the things that we want to create in the future. And so that's a really, I think a really potent thing for you to draw on. And maybe that's where your inspiration comes from. It could be childhood experiences. It could be family members. It could be like, a loving connection. But yeah, so it's like, I would allow yourself, to be moved. And especially if it is in relation to children or something that you're kind of creating, it's kind of like honoring those experiences, and, making room for similar energy to manifest in a different way. And in the same sense, this observer card, it says like, hold the vision for what it is that you're looking to experience, right? So it's like knowing, you know what that feeling feels like. You don't want to recreate that experience, and you don't want to set a really strict kind of set of limitations in terms of how that might happen or how that might come to fruition. So it's like, hold that energy, connect with that feeling, and be open to how the universe is going to kind of bring that into form, right? So don't focus too much on the form or the how. Let the form that it takes and the timing that it takes, unfold naturally, and see what the universe is kind of showing you, right? So it's like you hold the feeling and let things kind of fall into place, right? It's like not too much in the sense of trying to control things. And we've got showing up as your challenge, the Five of Wands. This card has been coming up a lot this month. And it is a card of, it can be conflict, it can be friction, challenges, roadblocks. It can be a sense of like trying to get ahead, trying to climb the ladder and feeling as though things are getting in the way, or trying to like impede your progress or bring you down. And in terms of conflict also, this can be, because we see there are a lot of people here and everyone's trying to get ahead, right? Everyone's trying to be first, like all the way to the top. So there isn't a lot of collaboration here, which means you could be experiencing friction in relationships to other people. And with it being fire energy, this is all about like our passion and our inspiration, right? So especially if you are working in any kind of collaborative capacity, it could be at work, family, friends, it could be in your love life. But it's like if you've got like two or multiple people who are like inspired and passionate and like fiery, but they have different ways of expressing that or different ways of doing things, there could be some clashing going on. And this is also a sense of like kind of feeling like you have to fight for what's important to you, fight for what you want, fight to move toward your passions and not to give up on your dreams, basically. And this is saying like, look, like this person's trying to get to the top, but it almost looks like this person is trying to drag them down. And this is a reminder that, no one can make you feel inferior without your consent. And the only way that we lose our power is if we allow ourselves to give that power away. And so it's kind of like, it's up to you what you're going to focus on. How do you want to deal with conflict? How do you want to deal with challenges and frictions and like in relationship or even roadblocks that come up as you're trying to pursue your passion, right? Because we don't want those challenges to knock us down and to put out this light or this spark of inspiration, right? But then we also don't want to be so aggressive in protecting that we're like, climbing on other people's heads, right? And so it's basically being able to harness that passion and inspiration and creativity, and like to be willing to fight for what's right and fight for what's important, especially if it's a creative vision that you're holding. And yeah, it's kind of like knowing how to navigate, because this 5 even is a card of like instability and change. So you might be navigating some kind of change, or there might be something that's kind of up in the air that you're trying to solidify or nail down, and that might be where the friction is coming from. But yeah, it's kind of up to you to hold the light and to cultivate that and shine that, and be sure that you're showing up authentically, right? So it's like take no shit, but also like I don't think I need to say this, like don't be an asshole, right? So it's like finding a way to navigate challenges, being true to yourself, setting boundaries, holding fast, not allowing people to make you feel small or giving up on the things that are most important to you, but also like maybe trying to figure out like how do we take opposing points of view and find a way to collaborate. And if, there is a lot of friction and there's a lot of instability, then it's like maybe that coming to light is saying like, this isn't necessarily the best right now. Like this might not be the best pairing, or maybe we're not meant to work together. But there's a bigger, like with the observer being here, it's kind of like getting outside of yourself and your perspective and trying to take in a little bit more information. And that might give you some clarity on how to navigate this, because as much as this can be a card of like kind of like chaos and tension, it's also a safe space to develop these skills, right? Like there's one depiction of this 5 of Wands where it's like lion cubs and they're play fighting, right? And it's like, that's a skill. So it might seem like there's aggression and it might seem like they're being attacked, but it's kind of like, I don't want to say sibling rivalry, but it's kind of like a safe space for them to develop those life skills where it's like they need to learn how to hunt. They need to learn how to fight. They need to learn how to defend themselves. And, they're not at risk of being seriously injured or killed, because that's not the intention, right? It's like a natural instinctive way that they kind of collide with each other to help strengthen them. So it's kind of like recognizing that as much as it might feel uncomfortable, especially if you're somebody who doesn't like conflict, it's recognizing that you're being given the opportunity to practice these skills in a safe space where you're not really truly at risk, but you're given the opportunity to kind of like, let that let that spark, breathe a little bit. Let that flame be strengthened. So however that might apply for you, that's showing up as the challenge. So it could be just like roadblocks, or it could be an energy that you're not comfortable dealing with, and with more challenges showing up, it's like you can't necessarily avoid the conflict. And it's about figuring out like, how do you want to move through that? And what's showing up as your advice for dealing with this conflicting unrest kind of energy that's in some way related to something that you're passionate about, is showing up as the Eight of Pentacles. The Eight of Pentacles is all about like, everything that we do, everything that we try to work on or create, whether it's something tangible in terms of a product or like a hobby, or if it's just like in the sense of personal development, trying to, work through bad habits or form or strengthen new ones. Everything is a process, everything is a practice, and it takes time, right? So we're not going to master a skill immediately. And sometimes we put a lot of pressure on ourselves. It's like if we recognize that there's something that we struggle with or something that we want to achieve, it's kind of like now. And we kind of live in a culture where instant gratification is glorified. And not only that, we've got like a lot of this like hustle and grind culture where it's like you're just like always moving, always trying, always moving, like always being productive, moving forward, and that can be really detrimental, right? Because it's not necessarily sustainable to be in that kind of energy all the time. And it also doesn't honor the fact that, we're cyclical beings, right? Our seasons move in cycles. There are times for rest, there's time for action. That's what the Eight of Pentacles is all about, is that in the process of mastery, whether it's mastering a craft, mastering some kind of like something in relation to personal development. It could be, this could be going to school, like being an apprentice, learning a skill, honing a skill so that you can market, the end product. And it's saying like this takes time. So we've got all of the phases of the lunar cycle here. So it's like, you show up each and every day, putting the effort in and practicing. And the only way that you're going to get better at something is to practice, consciously practice, and to show up even when it's tiring and even when you don't feel up to it. And to recognize that when you run into challenges or roadblocks, that's not reflective of your worth, and that's not reflective of the effort you're putting in. So, not allow yourself to get put off by the fact that things do take a lot of work and things can take a long time. And sometimes we're showing up day after day in that energy of being committed to whatever it is we're trying to produce or we're trying to master. And we don't necessarily feel confident about the progress that we're making. And that progress isn't necessarily always visible or tangible, right? So it's like you could be slaving away for like 3 or 4 months working on something, and you don't necessarily see the end result materializing, and you don't necessarily see the result of all of the work that you've been putting in, and maybe other people don't even necessarily see that. So it's kind of like, don't worry, right? Don't worry if you're not seeing any tangible manifestation, because it's kind of, this is not about instant gratification. This is about like the slow and steady process of refining your craft and learning the skills. And, sometimes we do just kind of have to show up and put in the work, and just, wait for our manifestation to appear. And it will appear. This is trusting the process and trusting that as you are putting in this work and as you're being this kind of studious student, as you're putting in the work and just showing up to master your craft, like you are getting there. The effort that you're putting is making a difference. And so not allowing yourself to get put off by like roadblocks or challenges or a perceived lack of forward movement. It's trusting that as long as you are showing up in this energy and you are committed to yourself and you're committed to whatever you're doing, you're getting there and you're getting closer to the end result. And sometimes life has a funny way of working out, and sometimes it seems like nothing is happening when in the meantime it's just all being woven under the surface and we're not necessarily meant to see or to know, and like this is also our resolve gets tested, right? Because if there's something that you're really passionate about and that you really want to see through, that our resolve will be tested, right? And there will be a certain period of time where you're just working and working and working, and maybe things are not, you're not getting to benefit from the abundance that you feel like should be here as a result of your effort. And this is saying, like, this is testing your resolve to keep going and keep committing to yourself even when things seem like they're not moving forward, right? Because that's the true test of your faith, right? It's maintaining faith in yourself and in the process, and knowing that your hard work is going to be rewarded eventually. And right now you're just in the process of mastery. So especially when it comes to like confrontation and challenge, don't let it get you down. Don't let it get you down if people are, questioning you, if people are poking at you, if you're clashing, if you're experiencing roadblocks. This is all meant to help you strengthen this like consistent ability to just show up and put the work in, right? And if you take your personal perspective and your feelings out of it, right? If you're not personalizing every little challenge and every little conflict, it gives you a much more grounded and stable and neutral perspective in terms of making decisions about how you're going to move forward and how you're going to handle it. This is a very practical energy, and that is your strength right now, whether you realize it or not. Taking a step back from the situation, especially if you're feeling emotional or especially if you're starting to get heated, and recognizing like this is a skill that you're developing, right? And the only way that we can develop these skills and to get better is to be tested. And sometimes those tests feel really shitty and we can question ourselves and like, maybe I'm not as far along as I thought, or maybe I'm not making as much progress on this front as I thought I was. And that self-doubt is natural, but it's up to us to decide how we're going to deal with it and not to allow that to take away from what we're trying to achieve, right? So give yourself the space and the opportunity to be the student and to master your craft. And don't allow your expectations to get away with you. Like, I should be further along, or there should be more, should be more happening than there is, right? Because, you don't want to be undermining yourself, especially because like it's okay for you to just be focused on putting the effort in, and it's just like, you're just being encouraged to have faith, to know that your effort is going to be rewarded, and to know that when things, if there's something that you're looking to see materialize or something that you're waiting on, it's like the delayed gratification, that there is something to be gained just in showing up every day, right? And being connected to your passion and knowing what you're trying to accomplish, and knowing that every day that you show up and doing that, you are honoring yourself and you're honoring your vision, and you have that kind of intrinsic value and motivation, even as you're waiting for things to unfold. So that's really awesome for you guys. I'm going to take a quick moment to share with you the channeled messages that I connected with before I got any cards out for you. And then we'll finish with your oracle messages. So your first message that came through was fortune favors the bold. So this idea of kind of like manifest destiny, right? Like nothing ventured, nothing gained, and being willing to just go for it, right? Go for it, follow the vision, take the action, put the work in, and know that you're going to see that pay off for you, right? So it's kind of like, you might be in a position where you have to put any kind of fears or worries, anxieties aside and just go for it, especially if you know that that's what's right and that's what you want, right? Sometimes you just have to go for it, and this is highlighted for you. So however you might resonate with that, that came up for you. The second message that came through was a song. So Everything I Do by Bryan Adams. I don't know if you're familiar with this song. It's kind of classic, but the line specifically, everything I do it for you. So you may resonate with that sentiment. You may already have a relationship to or a connection to this song. I highly recommend you listen to the song, sit with it, read the lyrics and see what comes up for you, see what connection there may be. I listened to it and it got me all in my feels. So this might be a particularly emotional or moving song. It may be connected to a person that you know. And also I did some research, and it's from the movie Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. So I have never seen that movie. I have no connection to it, but I just thought I would put that out there as well. And the thing that I got is like, maybe like there's something in your life that you're doing that's like kind of an ode to someone important to you, right? Or, you know, wanting to make someone proud, wanting to carry on some kind of like legacy. That was like the vibe. But yeah, definitely listen to it and see how you feel about it. Because yeah, there's like a lot of emotion coming up for me in relation to that song. And it's also just a really beautiful song. And then the last message that came through was eye-opening experience. And sometimes we use that like, oh, eye-opening. It's like it can be a shock to the system, right? Like something shocking and unexpected that could potentially be unsettling. But the thing that I felt most strongly with this is it's like, yeah, a new perspective, right? So it could be shocking, it could be unexpected, but in a sense, it brings about a new level of understanding or clarity, a new way of looking at an old problem. It could be like a new perspective on someone that you're connected to and like how they view the world and how they experience things. But basically, like the benefit is that this is new information that you can use or apply, and it might change things for you. It might change the path that you're on. It might change your perspective on yourself or on, you know, whatever it is that you're doing, or it might give you that like extra little bit of information that's really going to help you bring all of this together. But yeah, so it goes really nicely hand in hand with this opportunity for new perspective and like a bigger picture view, when you can kind of be a little bit more neutral and objective. So that's pretty awesome for you guys. So I'm going to get a couple of oracle messages just to finish everything off and see if there's any additional details or insight that might be beneficial to you guys. So first we'll do the Crystal Spirits Oracle. Okay, you guys got Diamond. The first thing that came to mind when I saw this, just because it's something that came up for me recently in the last couple of weeks, is, you know, they say, so diamonds are formed under pressure, right? And a lot of times we also kind of glorify that concept when we are talking about that hustle and grind culture. And it's remembering that, yeah, so it's pressure that forms a diamond, right? But then also, somebody had kind of commented on it and said, yeah, but you know, resting is what allows the bread to like rise, right, and grow. And so it's like for some people, pressure might be what strengthens them and forms them, but then also like there are some people or there are some situations where it's like rest and relaxation is what allows things to move forward. So I think it's just like, I'm going to read this for you out of the book, but yeah, what's immediately coming up is like to be mindful. It's like, is pressure going to help you or is it going to hurt you, right? There are times for action, like to take action and work hard, and there are times for rest, and only you know what is going to benefit you, right? And then there's also like the idea that the same water that softens the potato hardens the egg, right? And so it's like there's no one size fits all approach to like success and to getting where you want to be, right? And so sometimes the very thing that like breaks one person open and expands them could be the thing that like hardens and hurts another person. So yeah, being aware of that. Yeah, interesting. But anyways, so for Diamond, the essential meaning is the priceless gift of time and pressure combined, beauty and strength arising from trials and challenges, and the right use of power. Well, it kind of falls into place with this nicely. So it says, as co-creators with our fellow beings, we are meant to work together harmoniously, giving and receiving. taking turns in sharing the work, the credit, the fun, and the power of manifestation. Today you are called to claim your power and exercise it with respect and love for all, even those who are hard to love, especially those who challenge you. You never know what silent struggles people are hiding, and your ability to express love is magnified by Diamond Spirit today. So listen to that part of you that wants to be kind and understanding towards someone who is making life difficult for you, and allow that to come from your highest self. Diamond Spirit has appeared to let you know that this is a moment to wield your power mindfully. You have earned wisdom over time as you have suffered much in your life, and you are now in a place of maturity and understanding. Avoid being reactive, for there is a strength in quiet, loving gestures, such as the willingness to listen or to say, "I'm so sorry you're in this situation." Often it is these gentle actions that hold the most power. Your ability to move hearts is very strong right now, so even as you maintain healthy boundaries, make the choice to own your power and use it with wisdom and grace. In doing so, you align with the conscious universe who knows the healing power of love and compassion. And then relationship message. Your ability to act lovingly is strong today, amplified by Diamond Spirit. You are filled with love and capable of deep compassion, even as you speak the truth about how others' behavior affects you. Use your power to set firm boundaries, to say no and to mean it, to listen with an open heart and open mind before making a decision, and to express compassion without giving up your integrity. So that's what this is all about, is like taking in other perspectives and using that information to come to like a fair way forward, right? All this wells up from the wisdom you have earned from your previous challenges. You do know better now. At the same time, be sure you do not come on so strong that others feel intimidated. Forcefulness is not necessary. Pay attention to whether someone seems afraid to contradict you, for you may be unwittingly discouraging them from owning their own power. Be loving, be strong, be compassionate, and exercise right use of power with everyone you connect with today. Prosperity says, the right use of power means acknowledging your effect on others. Are you honoring yourself by insisting that you be paid what you are worth? Are you paying others a fair price for what they do for you? You have the power to negotiate, to set boundaries, and to wield your influence respectfully, recognizing that we are all meant to share in the universal flow of abundance. Today is a day to exercise the right use of power by honoring everyone's need to be treated fairly and experience prosperity. When you recognize how your prosperity impacts others, you will see the rate at which your dreams manifest increase exponentially, resulting in great abundance you can share. Truly, in singling you out today, Diamond Spirit has chosen well. And then meditation. Diamonds can be formed in the Earth's mantle, in a lab, or due to a collision of an asteroid with Earth. However they come into being, they teach us that extreme pressure and hardship can transform even the most ordinary into something incredibly strong and beautiful. Diamond Spirit asks us to contemplate how something that felt unbearable may have actually assisted us in becoming more fully who we are. Can you see how strong you are now? I think that's such a nice message, right? And that could have to do with, like your childhood or these past experiences, right? And it's recognizing that like you are a diamond, you're worth a lot, you've been through a lot, you have been transformed immensely through your struggle and your suffering. And as much as, going through difficult things, we can kind of feel victimized by life. It's like, there is an opportunity for you to say like, wow, yeah, I've been through a lot and I have suffered a lot. But the benefit of my suffering is that I have so much more compassion. I have so much more understanding to offer other people because I've been through a variety of things, and I'm sure there have been people that have granted you kindness and compassion and understanding when you are in dark periods, right? And you can do the same for others as a result. So it's kind of like we may have been hardened by our experiences, but we don't have to allow that to limit the beauty that we can experience in life, especially when it comes to how we interact with other people. So that's really lovely. I'm going to get you one more oracle message to see what other details might complement this reading for you, and then we'll get affirmations to finish off. Oh, there are a couple that dropped out, so I'm just gonna keep shuffling until I get you one confident card jumping out. All right, so we have Priestess. How are you being called to step up and lead? I like that. Yeah, so you may be coming into a period of time where it's like you're kind of taking the lead, or you're setting the pace, providing the example for other people, because you've been through a lot and you've got a lot of wisdom and you've got a lot to offer people as a result. So let's see. Priestess, how are you being called to step up and lead? The priestess is a teacher dedicated to service, freedom, and leadership. You don't need to have it all together to lead. In fact, it helps if you don't. No one wants a perfect angel who hasn't made any mistakes. Let your life be your message. Don't underestimate the power of sharing your story. It's by hearing someone else's journey that we feel less alone. We realize that we're actually all in this thing called life together. The difference between a follower and a leader is that a leader has the courage to go first. In stepping out, they shine a light on the path for others to venture forward too. Don't fret too much about trying to work out who is your tribe. Don't get stuck in age, income, hobbies, or occupation. The best way to discover your tribe is to look in the mirror. If you feel called to lead, chances are it is because at some point in your life you longed for someone to lead you. Your tribe are longing for exactly the same thing as you were and are, and might only be one step behind you. Hell, they may even be right alongside you. You don't need anyone's permission, just the courage to stand up. Embrace your struggles, the peaks and the troughs. You don't need to know the way, just believe that there might be a different one. Your tribe is waiting for you. Step forward so they can find you. And then there's an inquiry, and it asks, how are you being called to step up and lead? And how can you be the leader you wish you had? Yeah, so there's a really awesome opportunity for you. It's kind of like, especially if you have something to share, especially if you've been thinking about sharing the insight and the perspective that you have as a result of the things you've experienced, looking to share or support others who might be in similar circumstances. It's kind of like, this is giving me the impression that you've got something valuable to share, and perhaps part of this observer, and perspective, connecting with other perspectives, maybe part of connecting with that is being willing to speak about your own experiences, right? And being willing to share that opens the door for a level of connection that allows you to connect with different experiences. So maybe by sharing first and foremost, you'll open the door to more opportunities to gain a broader perspective and to see, other people's experiences, because even if we're different and we have different experiences, there are so many uniting concepts and themes that, like, even people who come from completely different backgrounds, right? Like, love unites us all. And so it's kind of beautiful to be able to connect with different perspectives and still see that thread of connection and humanity, right? So it can help us feel seen. It can help other people feel more seen. And it gives us the opportunity to bond over different experiences and to grant each other kindness and compassion and understanding, right? So there's a lot of information available to you, but you might have to kind of be the one who takes the lead on that. All right, so let's get to a couple of affirmations to end this off. These affirmations might be helpful to you right now, perhaps on a daily basis, maybe later on in the month. So it might be worth just making note of them and returning to them at any point that you feel might be beneficial. Okay, we got 3 here for you. So the first one, I can release ancient pain simply by feeling it. So it's basically saying, like, there might be stuff that's happened in your past that's impacted you on an emotional level that could be coming up, right? And sometimes those feelings can be really uncomfortable because they take us back to that experience, and it can be painful to relive, especially if it was traumatic or challenging. This is all about just leaning into those feelings, allowing yourself to honor and hold space for whatever feeling is coming up. If you need to cry, let yourself cry. If you need to, like, scream into a pillow or smash something, like, obviously just be safe. But this is allowing yourself to feel it and honor it, and knowing that the only way out is through. So if we avoid feelings because they're uncomfortable, then we kind of end up just pushing them down, and they pressurize, and they're going to come up at some point or another. And some of this may not even be yours. It could be generational in nature, especially if you are a sensitive person. So, it's like giving yourself the space, letting yourself feel whatever needs to be felt, express what needs to be expressed, but also not over-identifying with it, not making an identity out of it or holding on to it. The easiest way is just to kind of let it flow, So take that as you will. The next is the moment I begin to celebrate myself and focus on my successes is the moment I begin living. And this is the energy that kind of helps us keep that momentum, especially when we're having to show up and put in the work and we're not necessarily seeing the results we want. We have to remember to celebrate ourselves, to celebrate our successes, to take time to recognize, like, how much work we've put in, what we've accomplished, how far we've come. And allowing yourself to celebrate yourself and recognize your hard work and value is basically just going to supercharge your ability to kind of manifest, right? And it's like also recognizing your value and your worth and what you've been able to accomplish brings you into the present moment. It allows you to take advantage of all of the beauty and abundance that's available to you right now, so that you're not living for the future, just so future focused that you're not able to enjoy yourself right now. And the last one is I surrender it all. So yeah, there's a lot of theme in terms of like release. There might be a lot of opportunity for healing and release, to just let go of anything that's not serving you, anything that might be inspiring fear or anxiety, anything and anyone that you've outgrown, making sure that you're not repeating cycles or lessons that you've already, learned from. So yeah, there's just a lot of opportunity for release and connecting with new perspective that could be really illuminating for you. So that's really awesome, Scorpio. I am going to leave your reading here. I hope that this was helpful. If you did enjoy this reading or you found it to be helpful whatsoever, the best way to support me is to like this video on YouTube. Leave me a comment. Let me know what you think or how it resonated. Beyond that, if there's anyone you think might be interested in my readings, you can feel free to share my content or my channel with them. And make sure you hop on over to my channel at Bright Soul Collective Tarot. Ensure you're not only subscribed to the channel, but also signed up for notifications, which is the little bell icon. That will keep you up to date on new readings as they're posted. So Scorpio, I hope the rest of March is good to you. This is a really promising energy. You might find it to be a little challenging and overwhelming at times, but you can always come back to center. And the more perspective and the more neutrality that you can engage with, the easier it's going to be for you to feel your way forward. So it's all really promising. It's been an absolute pleasure reading for you. Very much looking forward to reconnecting with you next month and seeing what we've got in store. And in the meantime, I'm wishing you all the very best.